Okay, well, thanks to Amanda for getting this in. This all kind of bubbled up quickly, so we really appreciate it. She had asked someone else to switch, so it's great. Well, thank you everyone for coming today. We really appreciate it. My name is Charlene Sauer, and this is Linda Haynes, and we're both from the Waverly Shell Rock area. And we're pleased to be here to talk to you guys about powerful tools for caregivers. So we want to share some information about our background as caregivers, and then more specifically about the class and how the tools learned in the program can help caregivers thrive, not just survive. And we'll conclude this by suggesting some ways you can get involved or find out more information.
And who are the caregivers? I'm going to ask you to think about if you provide any of the following assistance to an adult with chronic conditions or a child with special health or behavioral needs. Assist with transportation, provide light housekeeping, do the grocery shopping and/or fix the meals, offer social stimulation, help with finances, provide a place to live, manage legal or insurance matters, arrange for outside services, communicate with medical or other professionals, offer emotional support, handle personal care. Raise your hand if you say yes to any of these. You are a caregiver. This statistic from the 2015 Caregiving in the U.S. study defines a caregiver as someone who provided an unpaid care to a relative or friend 18 years or older to help them take care of themselves. Someone who provided unpaid care to any child under the age of 18 because of medical, behavioral, or other condition or disability. This kind of unpaid care is more than the normal care required for a child of that age. I was a caregiver for a special lady I called Mom. This class would have been so helpful to me to help me not feel that I had to do it all myself. I have been also a caregiver for a neighbor and a friend and a fellow cancer patient. I have also had a wonderful caregiver. I'm one of the lucky ones to have a husband, Bob, who got me through arm surgery, cancer, and now this. Our son Matt lives in Seattle, so he can't do much more than just talk lovingly to me on the phone. And I also will be a caregiver for a sister who is going through cancer surgery probably this very minute. And I have a dear friend who's going to need help in the future.
And my background as a caregiver, I had experienced a grandparent who passed away. My parents are aging. It happens to all of us, and so not that I'm caring for them physically, but just it's in the mind, it's all mental. And then we have a 9-year-old little girl, this is Petra, with special needs. So, and it's 24/7. It's physical and intellectual disabilities that she has. So I'm just going to give a little background about how we ended up standing in front of you. About 4 years ago, I joined the Family Advisory Council for Child Health Specialty Clinics, and that's a federal program out of the University of Iowa. And so being on that council, I learned about the Iowa Family Leadership Training Institute. It's really cool. It's for parents who are caregivers of special needs kids from age 3 to 18. So if you know of someone who would be interested, let me know. But that was a 4-month process where we met for a weekend every month with a cohort. And in that, we had to have a community resource project. And my project was, man, we are not doing enough for caregiver resilience. How do we build caregiver resilience? I know people who are getting divorced, fight a lot, struggle with their family, struggle with their kids. It's real. And so how can we build our that resilience in us. And so I found different things out there. This should be the ABP, I'm sorry. The Roadmap Project, the American Board of Pediatrics, and Powerful Tools for Caregivers. And Mercy Hospital in Cedar Rapids actually has a caregiver clinic. It is all about caring for the caregiver. It is amazing. And they were offering this class down there, so I drove to Cedar Rapids for 6 weeks, once a week, because I thought, hey, I can do this. There's something here for me to learn for my project. And lo and behold, it was for me. So it really brought up whole health support for myself. So Janelle has been a huge role in that. And really starting to talk about conversations matter for the caregiver about the caregiver. Because a lot of times it's, how's Petra doing? Which, don't get me wrong, I totally appreciate. But it's always about her. And so there are times when it would probably make a difference if someone asked, how are you doing, Charlene? So this is called a Caregiving Map, and I just want to give you a slice of our life. And so in the middle, this is Petra. This is our family. And then each of these offshoots, this is school, advocacy, community, legal and financial, support, health, and then we keep breaking off all the different groups and people that we work with. And I'm not kidding, yesterday, I was in this entire thing. I had in each area something that I had to do for school, for advocacy, here I am doing this. But it is and can be very overwhelming. And actually, it wasn't until I did this that I realized we work with 3 different pharmacies for her, because we're just doing it, right? We're just going along. Wow, I didn't know that.
There are so many of us out there doing what we can do to keep honoring those we love to live a full life. But our life as a caregiver, we can spend on the average of 24.4 hours per week caring for a loved one. And 23% of caregivers provide 41 plus hours of care per week. Higher caregiver hours, 21 plus, are twice as likely to give care for more than 10 years. Almost half, 49% of family caregivers care for a parent or parent-in-law. 14.3% caregivers are caring for loved ones over the age of 50. 22% care for someone with dementia.
So the majority of family caregivers are employed, and either full-time or part-time. Recent studies indicate 6 in 10 family caregivers are employed, and 56% of employed caregivers work full-time. So additionally, 60% of the employed family caregivers have had to make some type of workplace accommodation as a result of caregiving. So you're cutting back on work hours, you're taking a leave of absence, even potentially receiving a warning about performance attendance. And so 15% of family caregivers have had to take a leave of absence. So this impacts the family and the employer. And I'm a statistic there because I had a full-time job down in Iowa City, and we were balancing appointments and jobs and figured out one of us had to stop because we were just at that point where you just didn't feel good going to work knowing you were going to shortly leave to go to an appointment.
More women than men are caregivers. Female caregivers tend to handle the personal tasks such as bathing, toileting, dressing, etc., while male caregivers are more apt to help with finances, household repairs, arrange care, etc. A caregiver can be found across the age span, but the majority are 35 to 64 years old. This increases the likelihood that the caregiver will also be employed in managing all the tasks associated with raising a family. A caregiver role might last less than a year or be many years. On the average, a caregiver spends 4 years of providing care. 24% provide care for 5 years or more. Higher, our caregivers, 21 plus, are twice as likely to give care for 10 years or more. Over 1/3 of the care recipients live with the caregiver.
So research indicates the impact on caregivers is threefold. It's physical, it's emotional, and it's financial. So the figures do not mean that this is true for every caregiver, but physical, emotional, and/or financial effects are more likely. And so the impact on employed caregivers is even more significant. So, just that you have to you're not taking care of yourself first and really pushing yourself in a stressful situation potentially.
What can a caregiver do to take care of him or herself? Consider participating in the Powerful Tools for Caregivers class being offered by Iowa State University Extension and Outreach. The intended audience are caregivers of older adults or children with special health and behavioral needs. This educational program is delivered weekly for 6 weeks. Classes are 90-minute sessions for caregivers of older adults. The classes for caregivers of children are 2 hours in length. The focus on learning skills for self-care, regardless of how a person becomes a caregiver or how much care he or she provides, is important for a person to take care of him or herself. The program is not a support group, nor is it for the care recipient. The program is for caregivers.
So first, Powerful Tools for Caregivers is based upon some assumptions. First, regardless of specific circumstances, caregivers face similar problems, and in turn, caregiving impacts a caregiver's life. Caregivers who practice self-care are likely to be better able to handle the stresses of caregiving, which can influence the care given. So Linda and I have been and are currently caregivers, and we know that this class would really benefit our communities. And so we're both certified by nationally certified trainers of the program, and we did the training earlier this year. And so although this is not an educational program, not a support group, class participants give and receive a lot of support from each other, and I found that to be really true.
Caregivers have the opportunity to learn a variety of tools to help them thrive as a caregiver, not just survive the experience. There are tools for reducing personal stress, changing negative self-talk, and communicating feelings and needs to others. Other tools are for setting limits and asking for help, dealing with emotions, and making tough caregiving decisions. Participants are encouraged to adapt the tools by using individual action plans that we set at the end of each class session and review at the next class. Powerful Tools for Caregivers has been through extensive and continuous development and evaluation. Evaluations indicate positive outcomes on caregiver health for a diverse group of caregivers. The impact includes significant improvement of behaviors, increased exercise, use of relaxation techniques, and health self-care.
And I can attest to that for myself because I kept pushing off my mammogram. And then I finally went to this class and it's like, you need to take care of yourself. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? And so I finally went and got my mammogram. And that was right when my best friend, who's 40, got diagnosed with cancer on her first mammogram. And I thought, I'm just being stupid here. I need to take care of myself. So difficult emotions are a part of caregiving. Participants learn to listen, learn, and take appropriate action with the difficult emotions they experience. Anger, guilt, and depression are generally the most difficult emotions for caregivers. Evaluations show participants have improved emotions with reduced anger, guilt, and depression. Finally, participants say they have increased self-confidence in coping with the demands of caregiving, and they know how to access community services and make use of them. So take time to educate yourself about caregiving and to talk to caregivers about how they are doing, not just the person that they are caregiving for. So here is the information about our class that we have starting very, 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 very soon, so register now. And so if you need additional information, these are the websites here.
You have one at the hospital schedule
No.
Oh,
we do
there's
not.
this, is that the financial one?
too. Yeah.
I think that's
Okay,
separate.
that's a different one.
Separate class,
Okay.
yeah.
Which they do talk a little bit about the caregiver. I mean, I think you just have to because it's the finances
Right.
of it, but this is definitely a more extensive program that we have. And so participants, when they register, they get the caregiver help book, and so this is what we kind of use to guide us through the class session. And this is theirs to keep. We wanted to show you guys an example of the action plan, because I think it's kind of hard, we're up here giving a lot of statistics, and we have our own experiences, but what is this class? What's the meat of the class? And so what's going around is the action plan, and this is what we work on at the end of class. And it's really interesting. We set confidence levels. So I'm going to read a book for 5 minutes every day. I'm going to do that for myself. Well, how confident are you, Charlene? Well, I might be a 3. Let's take it back. You need to have a win here. Let's give you something that when you leave this room, you have a goal of, I'm just going to get a book. That's all you have to do. And then next class, tell us what book you got. So that's going around, that's part of it. And then the way the class is kind of delivered, we have a variety of easels and information going. So this is the first week that we have that we focus on. We talk about ourselves and let's see. I want to find, let's see. This was part of some of my favorite things that I learned in the class. Not that I'm an aggressive speaker, but really trying to understand when you're using you messages versus I messages and how that comes across. And especially when you are talking, it's the caregiver and you're talking about the care for someone, it can become territorial, offensive. I mean, so how do we say it in a way that it's not going to hurt or raise a situation? A simple one that you can think that we've gone through is, maybe Betty is the primary caretaker for Joe. Betty's brother Sam doesn't want to help. And so I'm like, who are all my people? So Betty, does she take offense, or could she say, hey, Sam, did I say Sam? The brother, can you just help mow the lawn? And, figure out ways that maybe he can assist, because maybe he doesn't want to assist the hands-on part of taking care of mom. Or maybe the brother, Sam, said he was going to mow the lawn and isn't mowing the lawn. How do you get that to him in a non-threatening way? Because you as the caregiver, you're walking in, you're going, we got this going on, I got to take care of mom, I got to get her to the appointments, and all these other things. I mean, the stress is real there. So just working on how you can say I statements versus you statements. Because you aren't going to like it if I say you're not mowing the lawn versus I am feeling as though I'm working through that. So that's it for our presentation. Are there any questions or?
What is your service area, and do you offer classes like around other counties or Charles City?
Oh yeah, so Cindy Thompson, there are other people who are trained in this class, and so it's just working with her as she's our primary contact. So it's interesting, Linda and I, we are official volunteers for the ISU Extension Office. We're not getting paid for this. versus they've never had anybody do this. They've never had volunteers say, we want to take this class. It's always been ISU employees being told, go take this class. So there are some other staff members around. The class has to be led by 2 of us, so that's why Linda and I got on board, or I got Linda on board to do the training with me. But so it can be wherever. I believe they have a class, I think it might have just started up at New Hampton. And I know they had one in Decorah over the summer, so it's just kind of all over. It's kind of up to the co-presenters, you know, when can their schedule do it too. Yeah.
Do you anticipate, which I think would be a tough thing to ask, that there ever might be evening class, ladies?
Yeah, I mean, that is
For
what we
you who
need.
take care of people already, but you're the instructors? Sorry to ask, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where we're flexible. I mean, if there was something, a preferred time that a group of people knew about, I mean, we would love to run this class for you guys. Just, again, it's the experience that we had in it that just, it's really amazing. It's really powerful. It helps you as a caregiver, and it just kind of gives you, you know, a raft in the ocean of, I can stand up here, I can take from my toolbox, I can work on self-relaxation right now and just work on breathing, because attendees might have never done that, you know, just to take that 5 minutes, find my breath, relax. Whew, I just changed right there. So that's the power of the tools we want to give caregivers. It's all about empowering. So Wendy answered to you, Janelle.
Yeah, and I think this can be such a powerful program, and as you and I have talked, when we talked about this before too, the idea of who is a caregiver is so broad. It can be to a family member, but it can be to somebody who, you know, keeps popping over to your house because you live next to that elderly person. Doesn't have to be, you know, somebody who lives in your home all of the time. And you had given the example, it could be the receptionist at the clinic who sees people continuing to come in. A class like this could be so beneficial across so many, you know, boundaries. And I think that there could be just a lot of benefit out there. And probably your registration issue is just short notice, you know, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I know we've mailed this to a couple of patients that we just brainstormed that, hey, you might want to know about this. This is something I think I would enjoy attending. And I think of many caregivers or caregivers for family members. Well, when you even just show this model here, come to work every day and people might say, well, you're so nice. Well, who are we the worst to?
Yeah.
Who sees our naughty side? It's our people we love because they're always there. And I think that there's just a lot to offer.
Yeah, and you know, earlier when Linda was asking, are you a caregiver? I mean, I look at all of you working in this environment, and you guys are all caregivers. When I took the class, there were, I think, 2 other people that came in the capacity of an employee, actually a volunteer and an employee, because they wanted to, they're taking all these family situations that they see when they're volunteering, when they're working, and they're just like, how do I collect myself? How do I just, you know, think about how some of these conversations, maybe it would help me as an, you know, as an employee working with a family, how can I change how I talk to someone? So it's a different way to think about it, but it's really, that's what this class is for too. I mean, it's not just for caregivers outside of the workplace too. That's a different way.
Anyone else have any other questions?
What can we do to help you two to spread the word, move this forward?
Well, for support for this program, I mean, it's getting the word out, and it's, you know, I think we have to do presentations like this for people to understand, because when you see the flyer, it's kind of like, oh, what is that? I'm not sure what it is, because obviously, when I took the class, I did a lot of research. I was talking to the director of the caregiver clinic, and so I felt comfortable attending that. And I think knowing more about this class by attending here, I mean, if there are people that you think would benefit, it's word of mouth. That's the number one reason why someone will sign up for this class. It's not because there's a flyer on the wall, it is because Corey went to Charlene and said, Charlene, I think you need, this is a class I think you would really benefit from. I heard about this at work. It's gonna take that prompt from someone else. As far as like, you know, if the class itself, you know, we have these dates starting October 1st, but if, you know, because we don't have enough participants, we have to have a minimum of 4. If it doesn't happen, that's okay. Linda and I are flexible. She's retired. I'm stay-at-home mom, you know,
Yeah,
caregiver, side job here for something else, but that's how much it means to me to be able to provide that. And so, you know, I'm willing to give up Saturday mornings or Thursday nights or, you know, whenever it would work. So that's what I want to do. So asking questions, or if, you know, thinking of other people, or if there's someone that wants to, feel free to get a hold of Cindy. Her contact information was on the flyer by the door, and she can definitely help people register. If they're not comfortable with doing that online, she can take checks by mail or credit card. But Cindy can definitely answer to you some more questions about program availability. She would be a great contact about that.
So are there any tips on that Powerful Tools for Caregivers website, or is it just signing up for the class? That second
This
map
one is
link?
kind of generic. There's a couple of videos where they're talking about the class. This one, they do have a really nice, it's a half hour long, it's a video about caregiving. And it's just people talking about their roles as a caregivers and the challenges that they have and how this class has helped them. I didn't know if it was appropriate to show that long of a thing here, but there's that. They have relaxation techniques listed where, I'm trying to think of the exact name of it, but it's the imagery one, and you listen to a voice and they walk you on the beach. And you have to think about putting your foot in the sand and where's the water, and it's just, you know, so that becomes a tool that a caregiver can go back to say, beach, you know, or maybe it's like Clear Lake, you know, whatever, a puddle or something, but that they can find that safe space, if you will, to kind of bring them back to that. But besides that, it doesn't have that too much more. It's pretty basic. Any other questions? Thank you for attending. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.